One is by my presence, by him seeing me interested, and two, following his curiosity. But again, the interest isn't necessarily in content. It's in how we interact together. And once you become interested in patterns, in habits, then the whole world opens up to you. It can be very simple, like what shoe do I put on first in the morning? Or when I work with a group of lawyers, litigators, I might notice that they get to work very quickly without saying hello to each other. So my intervention with this group of attorneys was to have them notice that they go to action very, very quickly without connecting. And they didn't know that, because that was just the way life was. So once they notice it, they have the choice of doing it the way they always have, or doing it a different way. Or I work a lot with physicians. And physicians are always in a hurry, so they never have a chance to have an ending. Because the beepers ring and they have to rush off. Or I work with a startup organization, and they're always starting a new project. So they never spend the time thinking, what did we learn from this? So we're all very, what we call, well-developed at certain ways of being. So personally, my wife and I love movies. She likes to get to the movie for the previews. I like to arrive just on time. 50 years we've never resolved it. But we both like to wait to the very end and watch the credits. So we're the last ones in the movie theater. And that feels satisfying. So our beginnings are different, but our endings are like this. Well, you are asking the core of our model. We do pay attention for how people connect. So for example, a couple, two people, come in and their complaint is they fight all the time. So the way they connect is, and they say, this is horrible. We fight all the time. I don't join them and say, that is horrible. Let's teach you how not to do this. Our theory would say, do you know how interested you are in each other? Do you notice that when one person speaks, before you finish your sentence, the other one speaks? And how wonderful it is that you have so much energy for each other. And they first see what's beautiful about that. And that might be enough. As they become aware of their pattern. And then I might say to them, do you notice that neither one of you asks each other questions? Or that when one person speaks, the other one speaks a second afterwards. And then I might say, are you interested in trying something different? Each one picking out one question and asking it. And the other one just sitting back. You could answer it or not. And then the other one. They have to trust me. That's the hierarchy. That's the presence. And then they have to be willing to try something different. And they can always go back to the way they were. Amplification or exaggeration is a tool. So if you saw me sitting like this, you might say, Joe, would you be interested in pushing your hands harder? So that would be amplification. Another common technique would be, what would be the opposite? Now the opposite might be this, or it might be this, or it might be this. So really, once you get beyond simple concepts, there aren't, opposites are incorrect. So once it becomes complicated, beyond simplicity, a new possibility exists. Or I can go from not just here to here, but all the in-between. So we often have techniques that bring people into contact in terms of our polarities. So I can give you an example. One of those moments early in my training that stayed with me. There was a man in this training who I disliked. I couldn't stand him. And I was in therapy, and the therapist asked me, what don't you like about him? And I said, he's stupid, he's sloppy, and he's overly sentimental. So the therapist said, these are disowned parts of yourself. So you have to come in touch with your stupidity, because we're all stupid at times. We all have the capacity to be sloppy and sentimental. And rather than avoid him and judge him, you have to get to know him and become friends with him. And I said, no way. But I trusted the therapist. And I got to know him. I was teaching at a university in the Midwest, and he lived in Maine, which is, I don't know if it's a state above Massachusetts, above Boston. And I went and I visited him with my family. And they ended up moving there about 35 years ago. And I became more aware of my own stupidity, sloppiness, and sentimentality. So I wasn't projecting my polarity onto other people, taking something that I don't own in myself, putting it on you, and making you bad. Life is good and it's bad. And the model is really based on optimism. And whatever happens, I'll deal with it. And that type of optimism is what allows me to try new things, whatever that is. Whether it's something simple like a new piece of food, or coming to a country that I've never been in before. That is what growth and development is all about. We had a rule in our family that you always have to taste it. And if you don't like it, you don't have to eat it. But you always have to taste and try something different. And maybe that's the core of our model, that type of optimism.